made it, Daddy.
You made it. You're going to do the countdown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever and wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. And joining me for the next hour to talk about the absolute juggernaut Florida Panthers, our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing pretty well. A little bit more awake than I was yesterday. That's always a good thing. A little bit shorter slate, but there is some big news. It's going to push some ownership around. This is a pretty spicy 6-gamer, so I like these mid-range slates. They're my favorite size slates, so hopefully we can kill it.
Yeah, I do like this. Like just the number of games for one. 6-game slate feels like a good number. You know, somewhere around 6 to 8 games. Always like those mid-range slates. But also, it's the pricing and the actual players that are on the slate, right? Like no Toronto, which means no Austin Matthews, no Colorado, which means no Nathan McKinnon. We don't have Calgary, so we don't have that elite top line. Like I wrote about it in the Power Plays article this morning. That's up on Awesemo.com for anybody to go read. You do not need to be a subscriber, just giving some DFS thoughts for today. And one of those thoughts were, it's when you look at the center position, it's Connor McDavid and then Leon Draisaitl and then a bunch of guys, right? Like they're basically in a tier of their own. So I kind of find slates like this a little bit interesting because you're put to a decision about whether to play those centers or not, right? Like, because it's not like there's just a clear pivot, like, oh, I don't like, you know, McDavid's matchup, so I'll go play Nathan McKinnon, or, you know, Draisaitl doesn't have a good power play matchup, so I'll go play Austin Matthews. Like, if you're not playing Edmonton here, you're basically playing a couple of mid-range lines. So I know we'll talk about Edmonton specifically, but when you have you're a single entry guy, I think I'll be 20 maxing today. When you go into single entries and you have like that group at the top that is a clear cut above everybody else, like how do you handle that? Is it like a game by game basis, or do you want to do something like possibly avoid what might be pretty high ownership on these guys because they are the only players in that price range?
It's going to be interesting to see what happens, because like you can almost just plug in McDavid and Draisaitl and then fill out the rest of your lineup without making sacrifices. So I think I'm going to avoid like specifically just going McDavid Draisaitl. I think if I'm going to use Edmonton, I'm going to add in other power play people, maybe even go the 3 center route with Edmonton. That is going to be, you know, quite a different build. You know what I mean? Like Kyle Connor being out is changed the slate a lot because he was their most expensive winger by far on a team in a good matchup. So, you know, you're going to literally, you can build whatever you want with McDavid tonight. So as a single entry person, I think, you know, it's going to be similar advice that I give when I talk about Austin Matthews. Don't one-off Austin Matthews. If he goes off, someone's coming along for the ride. It's just what it is with McDavid too. Like he hasn't had that slate break game in a while, but Draisaitl has, and you're going to put Draisaitl with McDavid, so you might as well. There's going to be another assist on that goal. You're going to want to bring that guy along too. You just got to find the right one tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that. Not really a spot where I would one off Connor McDavid. Besides, you know, Florida's absolutely smashed last night's slate. Florida 2 did very, very well. Sam Bennett, Jonathan Huberdeau combined for 6 points. Ryan Lomberg had a 3-point game, the first 3-point game of his career. I think the biggest surprise from the games last night was that Toronto-Boston game. Toronto went into Boston and absolutely beat their brains in. Like, I know Boston made it a little bit closer there towards the end of the game, But it was probably Jeremy Swayman's worst game of the season. And, we do like to make fun of the Leafs here, but they are like an excellent team. The only thing that has really held them back here in this second half is their goaltending. So would you say like last night's game is more about Toronto kind of asserting themselves, making sure everybody knows that they're a top end team in the East? Or do you think there might be some problems with the Bruins, maybe their goaltending, defense, what have you? Like, what did you make of that?
Yeah. So like, I know we all make fun of the Leafs, but scoring on the Leafs is not an issue. Like they're going to score in the playoffs. It's just a matter of if they can stop the other team from scoring. A couple things I noticed in that game. One, they started out not putting Bergeron on the Matthews line, which was weird. They put out the Coyle line, and Boston 3 does not have good defensive numbers. So, and voila, like the Leafs made him pay. Second of all, the Leafs really trying to get that Kerfoot experiment to work. He scored. A broken clock is still right twice a day. But the Leafs, they looked really good last night. Swayman, Swayman's gonna be a good goalie. He's a rookie. We've seen it. I kind of like this stretch in the NHL. You can kind of compare to the dog days of August in the MLB season. You kind of get like these weird games. You get minutes issues. You get like tired teams. People are like, man, we're in the playoffs. Like, let's just get there. You know what I mean? So like, can you take anything away from it other than, yeah, the Leafs are going to be a problem? Yeah, they're going to be a problem. They're going to score. But can they win a playoff series allowing 4 goals a game? That's the question we will find out.
Yeah, and that's what we're waiting for here. We're waiting for the end of April for this regular season to finish, for the playoffs to start. I'm really excited. It looks like we could get a lot of really good matchups in the East, but we're not here to talk about playoffs. We're here to talk about this 6-game slate tonight. Before we get too much further, just want to shout out Yahoo. Yahoo Fantasy has been our sponsor this entire season. We've actually got a bunch of guys in our Discord that have hopped over onto Yahoo through the season. We have a special giveaway through Yahoo Fantasy. If you haven't played DFS over there yet, for first-time DFS users, stick around. We'll talk about that giveaway a little bit later in the show. Also, if the chat could, please throw us a thumbs up. Click that like button. The like button certainly helps us out. The subscriptions help out even more. So if you're new here, click that subscribe button. Josh just brought up MLB. MLB is only a week away. NBA obviously still in full swing. Masters is coming up. There's a whole bunch of sports to talk about. So click that subscribe button and stay up to date on what we have going on here at Awesemo.com. And make sure you click that notification bell to get alerts whenever these shows do go live. All right, let's just jump right into this first game here. You brought up Kyle Connor, so let's talk about it. Winnipeg with a 3.4 implied goal total going into Buffalo. The Buffalo Sabres have a 2.7 implied goal total. You brought up Kyle Connor. He's going to be out tonight. Him and Nate Schmidt both actually are going to be out of the lineup. At morning skate today, they had Evgeny Svechnikov taking Kyle Connor's spot. Now, remember, Winnipeg changed up their lines from what they had been for most of the season, or at least the second half of the season, really. So we're looking at Stastny, Scheifele, Ehlers as a quote-unquote top line, I guess, now, with Svechnikov, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Blake Wheeler on the second line. Looks like pretty much the same lineup for Buffalo, except for Matthias Samuelsson. We'll get to the defenseman, but he's out of the lineup here. Had been a guy that we've been punting every once in a while. This is an interesting matchup for this reason, is now that Kyle Connor is out, I got to assume Buffalo is going to assume that the Scheifele line is the top line now, and that's what matters for matchups here. I had thought that maybe they'd send out Jeff Skinner and Tage Thompson against Dubois, Wheeler, and Connor, which to me looked like a pretty bad defensive line. And, a lot of their defensive numbers in the second half of the season are very poor. But that's not the case anymore with Evgeny Svechnikov there. So I got to think that Thompson line goes head to head with Scheifele. So what do you make of this game?
Yeah, that's interesting because that changes things a little bit. We always rag on Scheifele Wheeler as being a bad 5-on-5 defensive line, but Wheeler's not there. Stastny and Scheifele have pretty stable defensive numbers. Ehlers is a better everything than Blake Wheeler at this point.
Better than everything except scoring in the empty net.
Yeah, except for scoring on the empty net. Like Blake Wheeler has turned into a glorified end of Sharks Joe Thornton. So like, yeah, that's where I am on Blake Wheeler. So I don't know. I came to the slate initially like I think Buffalo one's going to be one of these sneaky spots tonight, and maybe there's probably still going to get fairly low ownership, but the matchup has changed a bit. I think it's a bit worse now if Thompson, Tuck, Skinner go out against Scheifele, Eel, or Stasny. I think that iteration of that line is probably going to be pretty good both on both ends of the ice. So what do you do with the Jets here? You can't really go to the flow chart here because Wheeler's with Dubois, and well, I'll just start that line. Like Dubois has had a miserable month of March, so I don't know. I can't imagine if Denny Svechnikov, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Blake Wheeler are going to be very good on either end of the ice. They will get, probably Krebs, Cousins, Hinostroza, or even like the third line of Middlestat, Olofsson. Pretty good matchup. I just, I don't know if I really want to stack that line, considering like you're going to be paying 11.5K on DraftKings for Dubois Wheeler when you can just go to a different game in a higher total in a lower owned spot and get, a better match, like a better line. So we haven't got a ownership run since Kyle Connor went out, but I would imagine that's going to pump some ownership into that Scheifele, Eel, or Stasny line. And I think they're in a really good spot. Like we talk about Skinner, Thompson, Tuck being a very good offensive line, but their defensive numbers since like the beginning of the season really have fallen off. So I'm in on Winnipeg one. I just want to wait and see what the ownership, because if they're coming in like 25%, like the Sharks top line tonight, I'm probably just going to look elsewhere in my single lineup. If you see some of that Dubois Wheeler ownership go to like Edmonton and, Scheifele Ehlers are coming in at like 15 to 18%, I still think that's fine. Like there's plenty of ways to get different. Like I said, like you can build whatever you want tonight, especially on DraftKings, FanDuel. I know the pricing is a little bit tighter. So, if you're thinking about playing Winnipeg one on FanDuel, just check in on the ownership. If it's comfortable, play him. You could also power play stack here. I think that's an interesting way to get different, but like I'm not a huge fan of power play stack. Like it's a good power play spot. I don't know. Like if you want to go like Scheifele, Ehlers, like Dubois has been underwhelming this month, and I don't like playing Blake Wheeler, so maybe going like Winnipeg one and adding in Morrissey, or even adding in like Blake Wheeler will get assists on a power play if they get power play goals. So I think that's probably like I probably go Scheifele, Ehlers, Wheeler, Morrissey if you want a power play stack, but in on Winnipeg one, ownership pending. I mean, I think they're fine in MME regardless. For me, my one lineup, if they're coming in like way too overowned, I'll probably look elsewhere. I'm probably going to be out on Buffalo one in my one lineup. I think in MME, if their ownership sticks to where it is, I think I would be over the field. I just, with this slate, like, and the teams I want to play, I just don't know if I could prioritize Buffalo one here. I think they're a fine play now. I like them much more when Connor was in, because Connor, Dubois, Svechnikov, or whatever that iteration of the line was really poor defensively. But now they're probably going to bit tougher 5-on-5 matchup. I still think they're fine in MME, but I'm probably going to pass in 1 to 3.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that matchup real quick, because Stasny, Scheifele, Ehlers do have like somewhat of a sample together this year. They played about 50 minutes together. 55% of the shot share, over 60% of the scoring chance share. Like you were saying, Stasny and Scheifele, pretty much as long as Blake Wheeler's not there, they're not bad. They're not a bad defensive trio. So it does make me a little bit more reticent on the Buffalo Sabres. Like we talk about it all the time, or at least have on the last couple of weeks worth of shows. Is there are a lot of teams dropping the ice time of their top players, and Buffalo's certainly one of them. Basically all their forwards are playing between 13 and 18 minutes. In fact, something I wrote about in the Power Plays article this morning is like Kyle Okposo. I'll just bring him up. We have him in our lineup builder on the fourth line. If you look at lineup sites, he's coming in on the fourth line. I'm pretty sure he leads them in 5-on-5 ice time per game over the last 2 weeks. Like he doesn't play fourth line minutes. That's the way this Buffalo Sabres team kind of structures their time on ice every game. So my biggest concern with Buffalo, two concerns really. One, that they're going to go into that Scheifele line, which is a tougher matchup now. And two, they're just not playing as many minutes as they were. In fact, in the last game, Alex Tuck, who's been kind of struggling this month, at least production wise, got sent down to the fourth line. So, you might end up stacking that Buffalo top line, and one of those guys is, down playing with Zemgus Girgensons by the middle of the second period. So it's kind of a problem. Like, I really do like Buffalo 1, in a nutshell. I don't think it's a bad spot, but once you start to factor in what the line matching might be with Kyle Connor out now, what might happen with Alex Tuch if Winnipeg gets a couple quick goals off the start or something like that. Like, I think there are concerns. Like, I'm 20 maxing tonight, so I will definitely have some Buffalo 1, but I think they've gone from what was a core stack for me to kind of like a secondary stack. So I think, I won't be smashing them, but I probably will have somewhere around, 20-25% Buffalo 1 or something like that. I'm still going to play them. I'm just not as gung-ho about the spot as I was. What's really working in their favor is the Winnipeg penalty kill. Worst in the league this month by expected goals against. Like, worse than Arizona, worse than Detroit, worse than all of them. The goals against is also very poor as well. So do like Buffalo 1 here tonight, just not as excited to play them as I was. Like, if you want to go down to those second and third lines, like you said, I don't think there's a huge problem really playing any of them. The one that I do kind of like the most as like a 2-man or a 3-man stack is Asplund, Middlestat, Olofsson. Slow pace, but they control 59% of the scoring chances when that trio is on the ice. So, like, if you do need a fillery type stack, I don't mind like a 2-man of like Olofsson, Middlestat, Asplund, Middlestat, something like that. I also don't mind one-offing Kyle Okposo. Like, the guy's going to play 17 minutes here tonight. He's averaging 2.5 shots a game, and he's min-price on DraftKings. I wouldn't play him on FanDuel. They have him at like 5K FanDuel. It's like, okay. But yeah, certainly on DraftKings, he's fine. On the Winnipeg side, there's just not as much that I like here. Like, Kyle Connor is a big part of that team. He's their best goal scorer. There's a reason why he basically leads them in ice time, even though he's a winger. Or he has been of late anyway. So I'm with you. I'm worried that more people that were on that line are just going to slam in that top line, and all of a sudden Winnipeg 1 isn't 11%, they're 19% or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think like me personally, I have no problem fading Winnipeg here. In fact, our buddy Corsi Hockey League in our Discord brought up the fact that Buffalo's defense has actually been pretty good this month. Near the top 10 by expected goals against at 5-on-5, inside the top 10 by the penalty kill. The problem is their goaltending has let them down at times. You can't rely on goaltending to be good or bad every single night. You just got to kind of rely on the team to play well and hope that the goalie doesn't implode. So honestly, I think I might be out on Winnipeg here in my 20 maxes here tonight. I'm going to wait to see what the ownership run does, but if anything, it would be Stastny, Scheifele, Ehlers. I got to imagine Scheifele gets, over 20 minutes here. I'm also worried about which guy's going to, about Stastny ending up on the top power play unit. Yeah. I know people are assuming that Ehlers is going to get in automatically, but if you look at their power play ice time per game in the second half, they're identical and they both shoot left. Like, either one of them can easily replace Kyle Connor here. They're both on the top line. So if you're top line stacking, you'll get one of them. I just worry about like one-offing, Nikolai Ehlers here and then having him, I've watched the Winnipeg Jets for too many years and watched, Nick Ehlers get 40 seconds of power play ice time per game on the second unit to not think that he's going to, to just assume he's going to jump right to the top unit.
That's the thing. If it was Paul Maurice, it would 100% be Paul Stastny. We just don't know if this coach.
Yeah, absolutely. That it's a new coach is the only reason we're even talking about this. So that's my one issue with Winnipeg. But again, if you're just stacking the top line, you're going to get the fourth man from that power play anyway. So it would be top line or bust from Winnipeg. I do like Buffalo 1, not as much as I did. I think Buffalo 3 is kind of fine as a fillery stack if you want to go 2 out of 3 there. I also like Okposo as a one-off. On the blue line, like, Schmidt hadn't really been playing a lot for them anyways. He was only like 17, 18 minutes a night over the last couple of weeks. So it's not going to change a lot for them, I don't think. But now that Ville Heinola is in the lineup, min price, he's a very good puck moving defenseman. Don't mind him if you need a super punt. On the Buffalo side, is it Casey Fitzgerald's season again? We played him a couple times earlier in the season. He lost ice time, lost his role, but looks to be on the second pair here with Matthias Samuelsson out. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the Buffalo coach has that like he'll play two of Bryson, Fitzgerald, and Samuelson, then they'll rotate the other guy in and out. I think if you have a lean between Joki Harju, Jacob Bryson, and Casey Fitzgerald, they're all min price. I think you play that guy. Josh Morrissey, if you're correlating. If not, I think Logan Stanley, Brendan Dillon, or even Ville Heinola are fine punts.
Yeah, Jacob Bryson is a guy that's interesting because I wonder if he gets more ice time now that Samuelson's out. Like, he's not a huge shot blocker, but you know, when you're punting, you're kind of begging for scraps anyways. All right, let's move this along. New York Rangers, 3.6 implied goal total. They're going into Detroit. The Red Wings have a 2.9 implied goal total. I'm pretty sure that's come up from a half goal since this morning, which, like, by our projections, a half goal in the span of like 6 hours or 7 hours, that's a lot. I think there's a number of reasons for this. One, the Rangers are on a road back-to-back with Igor Shesterkin having played last night in Pittsburgh, I believe. It should be Alexander Georgiev tonight. And I was actually looking at their stats. Goal save above average is one measurement of seeing how much a goalie has helped the team above the league average. Between Igor and Georgiev on a per 60 minutes basis, it's 1.26 goals. It's basically 1.25 goals that Shesterkin is saving them above Georgiev. Now, that's on the season as a whole. Shesterkin hadn't really been playing as well this month, but it is a pretty big downgrade, which is probably why you see Detroit at a 2.9. The Red Wings have stacked their top line. Old Detroit one back, Bertuzzi, Larkin, Raymond, all on the top line. So I think there's definitely playable lines on both sides here. What do you think?
Yeah, a couple things. Georgiev, the more playing time he gets, the better he usually is. He's looked a bit better lately now that Igor isn't playing like 98% of the games. That being said, road back-to-back. And I just wanted to touch on how ridiculous of a season Chris Kreider's having. In the past 15 seasons, people who have scored 45 goals plus and have 23 of them or more on the power play. There are 3 people who have done it. Chris Kreider this year, Steven Stamkos, and Alex Ovechkin. That is a ridiculous stat. Like, okay, I'm not a huge fan of the Kreider contract, but woo, baby, is it paying off this year? He's having a ridiculous year. And we were so wrong about Frank Vetrano being up there in their 40-minute sample now. They're controlling 71% of the shot share, despite not having over 45% offensive zone faceoffs. Like, they're just ridiculous right now. That being said, back-to-back on the road, they're getting heavy ownership here. Going into the Detroit, what do you do here? Like, because they're one of the more expensive spots if you take out Vetrano. You know what I mean? Like 13.9 for Zibanejad, Kreider. But like, they live on the power play. That's what it is. And like, they're like, we always talk about like, oh yeah, McDavid, Draisaitl on the power play. That's one of the best power plays in the league. But like, honestly, the Rangers power play is one of the best in the league. And we just don't really talk about it too much. And like, the Wings penalty kill isn't great. So like, I think going to like power play stacking here is an interesting way. Like, I think, you know, going Zibanejad and Kreider, Panarin, I think is fine. Like, it's kind of expensive on DraftKings, but like, pricing, if you fade McDavid and Draisaitl, you can do whatever the hell you want. So like, I think you could power play stack the Rangers here. They have a 3.6 total. It's not like back-to-back on the road, they're 2.7, you know what I mean? 3.6 total, they're expecting them to score. The ownership is a bit high. So I think if you're going to do anything, either, you know, full stack the top line or just power play stack. I also don't mind like you don't really need it tonight, so maybe you don't need the savings, but like a Hedel Lafreniere 2-man, if you need to like jam in like every expensive player possible in your lineup, like I don't mind them. Like, going against the depth of Detroit is just fine. And Lafreniere has been one of their best 5-on-5 players all this season, so don't mind that. On the Detroit side, like, despite that Rangers top line being so good, like, I don't know. I don't mind the Detroit top line tonight. Even if you don't think it's the best 5-on-5 matchup, they're fully correlated in the power play, and the Rangers penalty kill is awful. Like, they're like, if you've ever watched a Rangers game, they spend so much time shorthanded, and you just see the announcers just like going nuts because Igor's making ridiculous save after ridiculous save after ridiculous save on the penalty kill. Georgiev's a decent goalie, but he ain't no Igor Shesterkin. So I think I'm fine with Detroit 1, even if you don't think it's the best 5-on-5. They're coming in at 7-8% for a really good power play matchup, and they have a 2.9 total. It's not nothing. And you start going down the lineup, and you're like, where is the other goals like, it's coming from the top line. So like, I think Detroit 1 is fine. You want to add in Verana for some more power play, leave off Raymond, add in Verana, get a even lower owned combo. I think that's fine as well.
Yeah, it's the line matching I want to bring up first, because they added Oscar Sundqvist in that Nick Leddy trade.
They're going to send out Suter Sundqvist, you think?
Yeah, they did when Tampa was in town a few days ago. Now that's only been one game. Like, you don't want to base everything off just one game, but Detroit was a team that at times this year was sending out their third line against top competition, particularly earlier in the year. That they went back to it now that they got a quote unquote good defensive guy in Oscar Sundqvist. Wouldn't surprise me. So if you get Ernie Suter Sundqvist out against that Rangers top line, now all of a sudden that Detroit top line, which is generating 38 scoring chances per 60 minutes in their last 100 minutes together. Now all of a sudden you're getting them out there against that Rangers second line. Now all of a sudden you're getting them out there against that Rangers third line. And like, I think Andrew Kopp is a pretty good player. In fact, I'm like, pound for pound, I think he might be better than Ryan Strome.
Easily.
but he's only been that center for one game. Might take some time to gel, and it's not as if Panarin and Hunt are, great defensive players on their own. And Kopp, I think Kopp kind of gets misjudged. I think he's a better offensive player than he actually is a defensive player. So, if Detroit's going to get second and third line matchups here tonight, and like you said, perfectly correlated on the power play with the Rangers having such a bad penalty kill, I really do like Detroit 1 here tonight. It was basically between them or Buffalo 1 that I was going to have as one of the core stacks. And now that Buffalo might be getting a tougher matchup, I think I'm just going to go to Detroit 1 here. They're coming in with very reasonable ownership. We have them 6 to 8% in our lineup builder. We have them projected for over 30 points on DraftKings. We actually have them projected for more than the Leon Draisaitl line, which kind of should put it into perspective what this Detroit line can do in this matchup. And, without Shesterkin in net, I can't think, if you're not going to play Detroit 1 here, when are you going to play them? That's kind of what I'm getting at. So I really do like Detroit 1 here. On the flip side, I had wrote up Panarin and Kopp. I think this is a pretty good power play matchup for the Rangers as well, because the Detroit penalty kill is pretty bad. But if they're going to send out Ernie Suter and Sundqvist, I can't imagine that's going to be a very good defensive line. I don't mind Rangers 1 here tonight, but they're coming in with a little bit too much ownership for my liking. That's kind of the only issue here. They might come in around 15%, and 15% on the road, it's not really that bad for a 6-gamer, especially when you consider the matchup. But I think for the Rangers, it would be power play stack or nothing for me. I think that's the way that you can really take advantage of Detroit here, is take advantage of their bad penalty kills. So if you want to do a Kreider, Panarin, Kopp, Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, whatever you want to do, I think it would be power play stacking the Rangers. So maybe power play stacking the Rangers, but road back to back, they're playing 4 and 6. It was a real tough game last night against Pittsburgh.
Good spot to fade.
Yeah, I think this might be a spot where I'm going to come in probably under the field on Rangers power play. So Rangers power play, Detroit 1. I don't think I'm going to any of the depth Detroit lines here. Joe Veleno and Sam Gagner have a real bad sample together, and I don't think Jakub Vrana is good enough defensively to really hold them all together. So, yeah, I'm out on the Detroit depth. So it'll be New York Rangers power play, Detroit 1. On the blue line, with both penalty kills being pretty bad, I think this is a fine spot where if you want to one-off Moritz Seider or Adam Fox, I think this is a spot where you can do it. Maybe one of the goalies has a really good night, only ends up a 3-1 game. They get a goal and assist. Those things happen. We saw, Tampa 1 kind of completely went, had a pretty good game last night, but we saw Victor Hedman have a pretty good game besides them as well. So, it can happen. Don't mind one-offing the super expensive guys here. Jordan Osterley, he's been playing like 22, 23 minutes. A guy getting that ice time for a really low price. Don't mind him either. What do you think?
Yeah, I think both power play quarterbacks are good here. I also think power play quarterbacks pair line mates are fine. Like Ryan Lindgren's fine to punt at 2,700. Jordan Osterley is fine to punt at 2,600. You want to take another stab on Keandre Miller? I think that's fine. Like Jacob Trouba's kind of in a little too expensive land for the amount of minutes he's getting now. Like his minutes have dropped, so I'd probably just go power play quarterback or their cheap pair, or like who the defenseman pair. I'm losing my mind.
we picked up what you were putting down there, bud. Don't worry. If anybody here likes to sports bet a little bit, certainly we do. Oddshopper.com is a free service offered here by Awesemo, where you can shop NHL bets, NBA bets, college basketball bets, and you can shop your props as well. So even if you're playing NHL and you're not betting, it's a good spot to kind of check to see what our projections think, what Vegas thinks, and compare the two. And if you are betting, it's a good spot to go and shop for the best price you can get to maximize your profits. So just for example, we're going to talk about the Arizona Coyotes a little bit later.
We are?
Yeah, unfortunately. Clayton Keller, we have him projected for 3.2 shots on goal. At BetMGM, it's over 2.5 at -105, so near even money. That seems like a fairly good bet to make. And it also kind of indicates to us, the offensive upside that Arizona might have here tonight. So, you can go through a bunch of players like that. Leon Draisaitl, going the other way, we have him as an unders bet. So head on over to oddshopper.com. Even if you don't sports bet, it's not a bad way to kind of check projections against Vegas per player. If you want to use a one-off or see how a guy might fare on the line or things like that, head on over to oddshopper.com and check out what we have for our NHL bets. All right, let's get to that Edmonton game I just alluded to. Los Angeles Kings, 2.8 implied goal total. They're going into Edmonton. The Edmonton Oilers have a 3.7 implied goal total. Now, the Kings did skate this morning. I didn't see an update from any of their beat writers. And that's important because in their last game, they switched up their centers and put Phil Deneau on the top line with Iafallo and Kempe and moved Anze Kopitar down to the second line with Victor Arvidsson and Trevor Moore. Now, in a nutshell, it's not that huge of a deal because Deneau and Kopitar both play the power play together. So, if we do guess wrong on what the lines are going to be, you're still going to get a power play stack out of it. But I do think it changes how we might approach the line combinations here because, you and I have talked about that Los Angeles top line had really been struggling of late, particularly offensively, which I think is why you saw them get broken up. But they have been struggling a little bit defensively as well. And I kind of like that matchup for Edmonton. But again, if they switch things around, the line combinations with Kopitar and Arvidsson, they've been pretty good together. Deneau has played a lot actually with Iafallo and Kempe this year, and they've been pretty good together. So it depending what the lines look like, it kind of changes how I look at this game. So how are you looking at this game, Josh?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I don't know what to assume, but I'm just gonna assume it's gonna be Iafallo, Kopitar, Kempe, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But yeah, they broke them up because they're getting their brains beaten by the Kraken. So could have been the coach reacting to that a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. The beats are still snoozing out in Edmonton right now, so I don't know if their old lines are together. I do like LA2 here at 4%. There isn't a line on Edmonton that worries me defensively. They're just not great defensively. So it is a good power play spot, but it's a really good 5-on-5 spot for Deneau, Arvidsson, Moore. So Arvidsson, it doesn't really matter who his center is. He has good numbers with everybody. It just is what it is with him. And he's quote unquote overpriced. So his ownership's going to be pretty depressed. So I think as long as it doesn't really matter who his center is. If it is Kopitar, if it is Deneau, I think I'm fine stacking the Moore, Arvidsson, whoever the center is line. Now, from a Edmonton perspective, it does kind of change a little bit. Like if it is Danault on that top line, like that's a way worse matchup for McDavid. Like it can't be understated how good of a two-way center Philip Danault is. Like Montreal knew it and they still let him walk.
I know.
Sorry. So like, I don't know, like that top line, like regardless of who's the center, forget the 5-on-5 matchup. The Kings penalty kill, one of the worst in the league. So I think this is a really good power play matchup. Now, the one guy that's really sticking out for me on the top power play per our ownership projection is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He's coming in at 2% right now, and he's on that top power play. His line mates are Derek Brassard and Josh Archibald, so like you don't need to stack that line. But if you're going to power play stack, I think including him is a very nice way to get different. Like I know I hate leaving McDavid off, but if you want to do something like Hyman, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, I think that's fine. Like if you just want to go rogue and go 3 center, I think that's going to put you on a wildly different build going, like McDavid, Hyman, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins. So yeah, I think that is a weird way to get different with a 3C power play stack. Like you don't have to go that rogue, but it's something I may consider. If I had a stack a line, it would probably still be that top line, regardless of who the top line center is for the Kings. Just because like McDavid and Puljujarvi have excellent numbers together, and you don't really want to be like, nah, I don't want to play McDavid because it's not a good 5-on-5. Like McDavid has no bad 5-on-5 matchups, and I think also going just full stacking that top line if you don't want a power play stack is also fine, because you look at Puljujarvi and McDavid. Like McDavid's best numbers on the season are with Puljujarvi on his wing, so I think full stacking Edmonton 1 is also in play.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too long here. I just noticed our favorite, like assuming Danault was on the second line, like that's kind of what I'm going to assume here. Assuming he's on the second line, that they're coming in with very good leverage by our top stacks tool, 8% top stack against 4% ownership. And they are getting expensive. Now, the thing here is Edmonton has put Kailer Yamamoto and Leon Draisaitl together. Now, Zach Hyman is on the wing with them, but Draisaitl and Yamamoto, like, forever have been terrible defensively together. Like, I don't know why. Like, Yamo was actually playing pretty well on the top line. I don't know why they mixed this up, but Dry and Yamamoto, their defensive numbers, 3 expected goals against per 60 minutes, only controlling about 45% of the expected goals. Like, believe it or not, it's the goaltending that has saved them from having really bad goals against numbers. So I do like Los Angeles too. The problem is that we just don't know if Danault's there. And obviously, you can switch out because there are still more games to come after that one starts. So if you need to switch out that line, there are some others you can get to, like, the San Jose top line is the exact same price as Los Angeles 2. So like in a pinch, you can just switch over to San Jose 1. But I do like Los Angeles 2 a lot here. On the Edmonton side, I think I would full stack the top line. I know that they're not correlated on the power play together, but I think you can just, add in like you said, add in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, I think is the perfect thing to do here. Go like McDavid, Kane, Nugent-Hopkins with a double center. I think that's kind of the way I would approach this. So top line, and I would definitely consider throwing in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as well. On the blue line, Edmonton's been spreading out their defensive ice time. Over the last 2 weeks, all their defensemen are playing under 21 minutes a night, and it's really, really frustrating because obviously guys like Nurse and Bouchard should be getting more, but they're winning games. They're playing well. Everybody's being priced up. I don't see a lot that I necessarily want to go to unless I'm correlating on the power play. Cody, can't believe I'm saying it again, but I guess Cody Ceci at 3K, I think is fine. On the Kings side, somebody like Ole Mata hoping for shot blocks or whatever, but I don't think this is a game where unless I'm correlating, I'm going for a defenseman.
Yeah, just a quick note, like with the second power play unit, like they actually last game, they took McDavid and Draisaitl off the ice for that second power play unit. So just be aware of that. Like if you think like you want to stack like McDavid, Kane, and then Duncan Keith, like, yeah, McDavid will put like he didn't. It was weird, and I was confused. But anyway, yeah, I think CC is fine at 3K. On the King side, I like Sean Dursey and I like Jordan Spence. You want a min price punt? Oli Mata is fine.
Yeah, it is real weird that they took him off on the power play. Maybe it was because it was Arizona and they don't really want to run them, but I can't imagine that would be it either. Maybe it is a change up in a little bit of strategy that they have going on. All right, St. Louis 2.9 implied goal total going into Vancouver. The Canucks have a 3.1 implied goal total. Not seeing any significant news on either side here. I was talking in our Discord. I was kind of surprised to see Vancouver as the favorite here. I thought St. Louis might be a slight favorite. Like the St. Louis top six, both their top two lines are over 60% of the expected goal share in the month of March. That top six is playing exceptionally well so far. So I don't know. We're seeing very low ownership on St. Louis, but it's again those ice time concerns that we talked about a lot. What do you think?
Yeah, I was kind of confused as well. It's like why is the Vancouver favorite over a playoff team? But like, I don't know. Maybe Vegas knows something we don't. Well, maybe we'll find out. Hopefully, we won't get some late breaking news. But I don't know. Yeah, there is minute concerns on the Blues, but ownership is fine. And I think I'll just go to I think either of the top six is fine here. O'Reilly Perron have been on a heater. You want to add in Saad, who's been playing like 16, 17 minutes. I think that's fine as well. Like cost prohibitive into those minutes. I think the top line makes more sense. But if you want to go to that second line, Buchnevich, Thomas, Tarasenko, that's been their best line all season. There isn't a line on Vancouver that's going to worry me defensively. Like, yeah, the Pearson, Miller, Garland numbers have been okay, like good for Canuck standards. Horvat, Peterson, Besser, good for Canuck standards, but like not like something like, oh man, I can't play this line because they're just going to go out there and shut them down. So like, I'm kind of confused on this ownership because the total is almost 3. They're getting no ownership. Maybe it's just a minutes concern thing, but I'm in on both of the St. Louis lines here. Whichever one you want to use. Like if you need a little bit more salary, I think you can either go like O'Reilly Perron, or you could go Thomas Buchnevich and leave off Tarasenko. I know that wasn't the play last time, but like that second power play unit has been the better one this season. So you could do like a Thomas Buchnevich, Justin Falk and move on. But like, I think full stacking is fine here either too, because there's no ownership on the Canucks side. Gets the O'Reilly Perron matchup, I'm fading. And both of these top two lines are coming in double-digit ownership, which is crazy to me. So, like, I'm probably out on the Miller line because I would assume they're going to get the Ryan O'Reilly matchup. The Pedersen, Horvat, Besser fully correlated line, they're all coming in over 10%. Like, the Thomas Buchnevich Tarasenko line is pretty good defensively. They've been a little bit of high event. So if anything, I'd go to that second line for Vancouver, but I don't know if I want to get a double-digit Vancouver line on a 6-game slate. It just feels like my brain is just like, why would I play 10% Vancouver when I could play 1% St. Louis too? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat here. Like, I think part of it is the ice time that we have brought up a lot. Like the top guys, the power play guys from Vancouver are going to play 18, 19, 20, even JT Miller is often at 21, 22 minutes a game. I think that's a big reason why, like their third and fourth lines are going to play like 8 to 12 minutes. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing that ownership is because where the ice time is concentrated. But again, like you brought up the matchups, like both lines are tough matchups for Vancouver, and the Vancouver second line hasn't been that great. 53% of the scoring chances, like, that's okay. The St. Louis second line, meanwhile, since the start of February, that's 62% of the scoring chances, generating, roughly 20% more for their team per game. So I'm with you. I kind of like going to either of the St. Louis lines here. I don't have a problem with either of them because they're both kind of in different price ranges. So I guess it's whatever would best fit your particular build, but I do like the St. Louis 2 matchup a little bit better here tonight. But again, I think both are perfectly acceptable to use here. The Vancouver penalty kill has gotten better, but it's still not like elite or anything. It's basically in the middle of the league. So no issues there. You know, the St. Louis penalty kill, like we talk about how Vancouver is very reliant on the power play. St. Louis has a top 10 penalty kill in the league. Like it's a very big problem here. So, you know, at that ownership, I think it's fine to just not play Vancouver here tonight. I just, like you said, I just find their ownership a little bit too high for what, you know, for this particular matchup. If you want to play that, you know, that Vancouver top line, the Arizona top line is a little bit cheaper. You know, you can even go to, you know, pay up a little bit and go to Los Angeles 1 or just go down to Rangers 2 that I talked about in the Power Plays article. Like, I just don't really like this spot. I don't really particularly like the ownership either for Vancouver here. So not super high on the Canucks. If anything, it would be the second line. It would be the Horvat, Besser, Pettersson line, because there are times when Thomas and Tarasenko do look a little bit lost in the defensive end, but Buchnevich there is what really helps. So, yeah, St. Louis 2 mostly, maybe some St. Louis 1. I'm probably out on Vancouver, but maybe Vancouver 2 if you want to get there. On the blue line, both teams are basically just playing three defensemen. Ekman Larson, Myers, and Hughes on the Vancouver side, Letty, Parayko, and Falk on the St. Louis side. And I see Matt Niehaus send in a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Niehaus. We appreciate it. Says, do you recommend playing Nick Letty with St. Louis stacks for PP exposure? I rarely play Nick Letty, regardless of what his role is. Even like I wasn't even playing him on the power play when he's with the Islanders. Like I just wasn't. I think he's perfectly fine to leave off here tonight. If you need the savings, drop the lower, you know, the average cost of the line, by all means, go ahead and play him. But he's not a guy that'll project well. He's probably not a guy that'll blow up a slate. Of course, now that I say that, he's probably going to blow up the slate tonight. What do you think, Josh?
This is what happens, Larry. That's all that's going through my head right now. Big Lebowski. But like, would you play Chris Weidman in a Montreal Canadiens power play stack there, Haas? That's kind of what's, you know, if you need the savings, play him. But like, I'd much rather go to the power play 2 stack and use Justin Falk, who is in my top 3 most annoying DFS players of all time, and I'd still rather play Justin Falk than Nick Letty.
Yeah, that's how strongly Josh feels against Nick Letty here tonight. We talked about Yahoo a little bit earlier, and we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. And before we go too much further, if the chat could, please throw us a thumbs up. Those likes help us, and click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Those subscriptions help even more. And make sure to click the notification bell to get alerts whenever this show and the others do go live. San Jose, 3.3 implied goal total. They're going into Arizona. The Yotes have a 2.7 implied goal total. Logan Couture back. Looks like he's going to be on the second line with our buddy Rudolph Balcers and Noah Gregor. On the Arizona side, Lawson Krause looks like he has a broken hand and he's out. Now they moved Travis Boyd down to his line, the Arizona second line in the last game, and moved Nick Ritchie up to the top line. Now, while I'd like to say that won't stick with Krause out of the lineup for the rest of the season, it's something I could see them starting with here in this game. But again, you never, ever, ever get Arizona news, so you won't know what they look like until warmups. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, instead of sending super chats, Haas, save that money. We'll buy a drone. We'll put it into the Arizona stadium, whatever it is, their 38-seat clown house, and we'll get Arizona lines. But like, okay, it doesn't really matter who's like on the Arizona side. I think it'll be Keller, Schmaltz, and Ghosts, and call it a day. Like, San Jose Sharks penalty kill is good, but like they lost their best penalty killer in Middleton. I don't understand. Like I feel like their penalty kill is gonna drop a little bit without him. I think Keller Schmaltz a good five. Like Hurdle Meyer, their defensive numbers have fallen off. Like they've been good on the power play. So like I think going to Keller Schmaltz is fine. Adding Ghost is fine. On the Shark side, like this ownership is just insane. And it's like I don't know, like they've been clicking on the power play too, like Hurdle Burns, they just going nuts recently. So like, I don't know. I think if you want to go with the Sharks here, you do a power play stack, leave off Barabanov and add in Couture or something, or go like Hurdle Burns and Carlson. Just find a way to get a little bit different in that ownership. Like, I don't want to play 25% Sharks tonight. Like, I don't care that it's the Arizona Coyotes. Like, the Sharks are a bad team too. Like, I want to play the Sharks. I just don't want to play 25% Sharks. So I think if you're going to use Hurdle and Meyer tonight, I think you add in Couture, you add in Carlson, you add in Burns, you find ways to get different, and you go about your day. So it's like, it's probably both top lines for me and some Couture.
Yeah. Like I will say, I genuinely do like San Jose 1. I was kind of ragging on them because they weren't really playing well coming out of the All-Star break, but Hurdle and Meyer have really kind of turned it around since Barabanov jumped back up on that line. Like they were really good earlier in the season. Their last, 50-ish minutes, they're at about 40 scoring chances generated per 60, controlling 55% of the scoring chances. That's more like what we expect from them. And you talk about how they have been shredding it on the power play and the Arizona penalty kill, like better, still not very good. So yeah, I really like, I do like San Jose 1 here tonight. I agree with you. You have to do something a little bit different. Like you said, I think it would be adding in one of the defensemen, Carlson or Burns. I wrote up Eric Carlson for the Power Plays article, but I think both are fine. It'd be adding one of the defensemen that I would do here because it is going to be a very, very chalky line. But again, it's a very, very good matchup. And as somebody just posted in our Discord, it's 4 games in 6 nights for Karl Vejmelka for Arizona, including a back-to-back in there, and it was across 3 time zones. So, you got to wonder, when does this guy start falling apart? Is it tonight? We'll see. But I really do like San Jose 1. If you want to throw in some San Jose 2, I don't think it's really a great option, but the Arizona depth has really been depleted. They're not very good to begin with. So if you want to get to San Jose 2, I'm not going to say no, but it's San Jose 1 or bust for me. I'm not in on Arizona on this game. Like if you want to play Keller and Schmaltz, go ahead. They're shooting 24% in their last 125 minutes together. That's why they're producing so well. 24%. 1 out of 4 shots are going in. Like, it's like half that would be an exceptionally high shooting percentage. 24% is just patently absurd. So it's got to crash eventually. I'm going to get off the train. The ownership is fine, but again, we don't really know what the lineups are going to be. We won't know until warm-ups. So San Jose 1 or bust for me. On the blue line, I mean, Anton Strahlman, don't really like him, but he's playing 23 minutes a night, and it is a bad team. He could see some shot blocks here, but I think this is a case where I'm correlating with Burns or Carlson, or, if you want to, with Gostisbehere on the Arizona side, or probably nothing.
Yeah, I'm just correlating in this game or, moving on.
All right, let's move on then. Here at Awesemo, we have the Awesemo Hall of Fame, where we like to celebrate subscriber success. To do that, if you want to get in the Awesemo Hall of Fame, this is how you do that. You download the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar. You place in the top 3 of a contest with at least 5,000 contestants, and then you tweet those wins to the Awesemo Hoff account. You'll see Dave the Remmer pop up on your screen. He's running hot with his parlays. It looks like hit a couple big ones. Good job from him. He says over 5K profit. Thanks to the betting show. Jessica Rutland crushed in NASCAR, taking down 20K first place solo. Congrats to the NASCAR players. There were a lot of them that did well. NBA pick and roll, 3rd place over the weekend for Josh Costigan. Congrats. 2nd place for Short Gamer TV in NASCAR in the 100 to 1st, 35K to 2nd. So congrats there. Tyler Matisse second in PGA over the weekend for 80K, a really nice hit there. News God, our own News God here, hit an NHL parlay. Congrats to him. And finally, you'll see the Drunken Master doing well, both on DraftKings or especially on FanDuel here, taking in about 10 grand playing NBA. So NBA and NASCAR have really been crushing it. Just remember, send your wins into the Awesemo Hoff account. And if you meet all the criteria, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Coming up after us, Locks Before Lock at 4:15 Eastern. That's our NBA betting prop show with Ben and Savoca. After that, the NBA double dose of Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock. And then PGA Live Before Lock at 8 p.m. tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, that is. Final game, Vegas, 3.4 implied goal total going into Seattle. Seattle Kraken have a 2.6 implied goal total. This is a weird game because basically none of the Seattle lines have a sample together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not really sure how well they're going to play, but they have been playing a little bit better defensively over the last month or so. Seattle Kraken have basically the same expected goals against rate as Vegas does over the last month. So not a terrible defensive team. It's basically just been their goaltending that has let them down, but the goaltending, even Chris Dridger has been better of late. So I see that Vegas expected to have exceptionally high ownership here tonight because they're very, very cheap and they have a big total. So what do you think, Josh?
Here's the thing with Vegas ownership, and I agree it's going to be high, but I think if you full stack Vegas 1, you'll be on a unique path because they're a double center line, and you can't do Edmonton power play with Vegas 1 for that reason. So I think a lot of people are going to leave Stevenson off and do like McDavid Draisaitl with like Eichel Dadenoff and someone. You know what I mean? So I think if you like Vegas, you full stack here. You know what I mean? Because you can't get McDavid and Draisaitl in with Vegas 1. Now that might also lead into like a whole bunch of McDavid one-offs, but we don't have enough time for that, for me to turn red for that. So like I think Vegas 1 full stack, it would be the way I would attack Vegas here. You want to go to that Vegas second line. Yeah, like I think, Carlson, Marchessault, those two are fine. You want to leave Michael Amadio, whatever, off, that's fine. I'm in on Vegas 1. I think you full stack there. On the Seattle side, like these lines are just quite a scene, and the ice time is quite a scene too. Like they all get like pretty much the same minutes, which is a problem. So like the thing is, like the most expensive person on Seattle is Jared McCann at 4,700. So like price is an issue. I think I would just go to that top line of Donato, Wenberg, Eberle. They got a couple guys on the power play and just call that. You want to one-off Yanni Gord, I think that's fine. But like Victor Rask is his line mate. Like I didn't even know he was in Seattle until like 3 days ago. So I don't know. Seattle's an interesting one. If you like a line, stack them. If you don't, but I think at least on DraftKings from a Vegas 1 standpoint, I think you full stack or you don't stack.
Yeah, I will just say I'm out on Seattle. Like if you want to go, I think I might have some one-offs of like Jordan Eberle or Ryan Donato or Yanni Gord or something like that. But we saw the problem in their last game. They scored 6 goals. They had 11 forwards get 1 point and 0 forwards get 2 points. You brought up their ice time. Every single forward is basically playing 13 to 18 minutes a game. In fact, Jaden Schwartz leads them in ice time per game this month, and he's not in the lineup. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just one-offing forwards on the Seattle side. On the Vegas side, I actually think like a penalty, or like if you're worried about ownership, I think a power play stack is definitely a way you can go here. Add in Jonathan Marchessault with your Vegas 1, add in Shea Theodore with your Vegas 1 or something like that. The Seattle penalty kill has been very bad. Not that Vegas has been good, but the Seattle power play is also terrible. So might be some sort of Vegas power play stack that I like best here. Kind of like I did with the Rangers. I think power play stacking would be the way to go for me. All right, Josh, we got to get out of here. We will be back tomorrow with another show. Don't forget, Locks Before Lock coming up at 4:15 Eastern. I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies. My hat trick pick for tonight is one Tyler Bertuzzi. And my goalies, I can't believe this name is coming out of my mouth. But assuming that he starts, he's confirmed Mikko Koskinen. I also like Ville Husso from St. Louis And if you want to get a little bit different for a cheap goalie, Craig Anderson, who you got?
Yeah, the three I wrote down are Billy Husso, James Reimer, and Craig Anderson with a question mark. You know, it's 2022. And my hat trick pick, how spicy should we get? I wrote down 2. I'll go a little bit more conservative. I'll go Phil Deneau. That's still spicy.
Yeah, that's still spicy. I don't think he has a hat trick in his career. Yeah. So 120 goal season. Let's hope he does it here tonight. Phil Deneau, Tyler Bertuzzi are your hat trick picks. We are out of here. We will be back in 23 hours with another show. But until then, for producer Mike, for our single entry assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris, and our good buddy, the GOAT Avery, I'm Michael Clifford saying good luck tonight, everybody.